Hello dear students, this is Mushtaq from MC Society Institute of Pharmacy, Azam campus. Today we are going to conduct the experiment number 3. Title of the experiment: to select the animals for experimental use in pharmacology and to observe and confirm the effects of anesthesia on animals. Outcomes of our today's practical: the student will be able to select the experimental animals, the student will be able to explain the concept of experiment, the student will be able to describe the mechanism of action of anesthetic drugs, and the last, the student will be able to operate the computers. Coming to the theory part of our experiment, proposition number 1: anesthesia. Anesthesia means loss of consciousness. The animal will lose its consciousness and will not able to do anything while performing our experiment. So to produce anesthesia in animals, we use different methods that are called as methods of anesthesia. We have two methods: physical method and chemical method. Under physical methods, we have three processes like pithing, stunning, and chilling. And we also can also perform anesthesia by using chemical methods, that is use of chemicals like barbiturates, coralloros, etc., which is injected into the animal to produce anesthesia, that is loss of consciousness, and the animal will not able to move or do anything while we perform the experiment on animal. Proposition number 2: mechanism of action of anesthetic drug. So an anesthetic drug will depress all the parts of central nervous system by inhibiting the ascending reticular activating system present in the cerebrum, which controls pain and sensation. Because of depression of these particular centers in the brain, the animal will not feel any pain as well as sensation while we perform the experiment. Proposition number 3: routes of drug administration. The way of administration of drug into the body is called as route of drug administration. So normally we can administer the drug locally, that is applied over the skin or body. Second one, oral or enteral route, that is given orally or by sublingual route, etc. And the last is parenteral route, in which the drug is injected inside the body with the help of a sharp needle. Proposition number 4: dissection. That is means exposure of different body parts with the help of dissecting instrument is called as dissection. Here we cut the body with the help of scissors, blades, etc., and then we open it and we can expose the body parts with the help of dissecting instrument. Proposition number 5: isolation. Separation of tissues and organs outside the body is called as isolation. That means we will remove the particular organs like heart, liver, intestine from the animal's body, and we will isolate it and we will separate it from the body, and we can conduct experiment on that part, and we take care that that part will be alive while we perform the experiment, even though it is outside the animal's body. Next, animals which are used in our experiments. First animal is frog. So this is one of the most commonly used experimental animal in physiology, pharmacology, and toxicology. We are using this animal for more than 200 years, and it is easily available in rainy season, and it is an amphibian animal and safe to handle. Experimental use of frog: we can use the frog for the study of isolated tissue such as rectus abdominis muscle, heart preparations. We can also use in the study of drugs acting on central nervous system, study of toxicity studies like renal toxicity of drugs and retinal toxicity of drugs, study of drugs acting on neuromuscular junction. Second animal is rat. It will be similar to mouse or mice, but the size will be little bit larger. So it is small in size compared to other animals like rabbit, say guinea pig, etc. So drugs are required in small quantities. Since the rat doesn't has vomiting center, so we can use the drugs orally, and there is also absence of gallbladder and tonsils, so there is a continuous flow of bile in the intestine, which helps to study the specific drugs acting on bile, cholesterol, reabsorption, etc. Experimental use of rat we can use in psychopharmacological studies, study of analgesics and anticonvulsant drugs, and for biopsy of various hormones like insulin, vasopressin, oxytocin, and to study the erectus cycle, mating behavior, and lactation. Is also the isolated part of rat can be used to study the various drugs which acts on parts like uterus, stomach, fundus strip, heart, etc. We can also perform chronic study on blood pressure using rat. So also we can also study effects of hepatotoxic and anti-hepatotoxic compounds by using rat. Next is guinea pig. So it is a docile animal. It highly susceptible to tuberculosis and anaphylaxis. It's also very sensitive to histamine and penicillin. So if you want to use it, we require hexogenous ascorbic acid in diet. Experimental use of guinea pig: evaluation of bronchodilators, anaphylactic and immunological studies, study of histamine and antihistaminics, biopsy of digitalis, and evaluation of local anesthetics, especially on the eye. And the next animal is mouse, which is also called mice, and Swiss albino mice are commonly used in experimental. Mice is small, cheap, and easy to handle. Experimental use: toxicological studies, especially acute and subacute toxicities, biopsy of insulin, testing of analgesic, anticonvulsant, chemotherapeutic agents, and studies related to genetics and cancer research. And we can also study drugs acting on central nervous system. And the last animal is rabbit. It is also a docile animal which large ears. Usually we use New Zealand white rabbit for experimental purpose. The rabbit contains atropine esterase, an enzyme which is present in liver and plasma, so it can tolerate large dose of belladonna. Experimental use we can use for pyrogen testing of injectables, biopsy of antidiabetics, chloroform drugs, and study of mydriatics and myotics on eye, study of local anesthetic drugs on eye, and we can also use the isolated preparations like hard duodenum ileum to study various effects of drug. Next is method of producing anesthesia. So first, physical methods. This method is used specially for frog. Pithing method we will see in the animation in the experimental part, as well as actual performance of pithing method in the video. So in this method we have to hold the animal in the left hand with the dorsal part towards you, feel the depression, that is called occipito-atlantic junction at the joint of skull with the pithing needle in the right hand. Pass the pithing needle in the depression, move the needle from side to side, thus separating brain and spinal cord, and pass it upward and rotate so as to destroy upper part of the brain. So withdraw the needle and pass it downward to complete destruction of the spinal cord. So we have to ensure that complete pithing has been done by checking the refluxes by pressing needle on the limb of frog. If there is a movement of the limb, that indicates that pithing is not been completed completely. So again we have to destruct the brain and spinal cord with that needle. Next is chilling method. We have to place the frog in refrigerator at about 4 degrees centigrade, and we have to repeat the method which we have already learned in pithing. And the physical methods of anesthesia for mice, rabbit, rat and guinea pig, that is stunning. Here what we will do, all these animals has a tail, so we will hold the animal in hand by tail and will give a stroke between brain and neck part against a sharp end of a table or any corner of the wall, etc., and immediately will place on platform after giving the stroke, and we will dislocate the spinal cord by pulling the tail, such that there will be total damage of the brain and spinal cord, and there should be breaking of connection between brain and spinal cord. So in this method is usually adopted for tail animals, but nowadays we will not use all these methods, but we use the chemical method of anesthesia by giving drugs like barbiturates, charcoalose to produce anesthesia in animals. What we have learned: first, loss of consciousness is called as anesthesia. In animals we can produce anesthesia by two methods, that is physical methods and chemical methods. So the anesthesia act by depressing the parts of central nervous system, especially reticular activating system. And next, the ways of administration of drug into the body is called as the routes of drug administration, and normally we use three routes for animals like local, oral and parenteral. Next we will learn about the dissection, isolation and various animals and their experimental use, and the last, that is stepwise procedure for methods of producing anesthesia like pithing, chilling and stunning. Thank you.